I can think of few foods that are as special as refried beans. They're the rare recipe that is dirt cheap, super nutritious, and can be eaten with breakfast, lunch, or dinner. They're optimal for gluten-free and vegan diets, or they can be made in a way that makes carnivores salivate. Oh, and they're also super delicious. No wonder refried beans are a staple in Latin America and the United States, where they're served everywhere from high-end Mexican restaurants to hole-in-the-wall joints. For most of us, cooking them at home means opening up a can. After all, canned refried beans cost as little as $1 and can be kept in the pantry for a long time. But with just a little more effort, you can make your own refried beans that are even less expensive and, more importantly, tailored to your own taste. Oh, and they're also super easy to cook, and with the method that I'm going to show you, you don't even have to fry them. Today, I'm going to show you how to make refried beans with a food processor. Hello and welcome to I Want to Cook. My name is Chef Matt and this channel is all about helping you be a better cook, and after watching today's episode, you are gonna know how to make your own refried beans fast and easy. Now, refried beans are one of my favorite recipes. I eat them multiple times a week. They're super popular here in Southern California, as well as, well, probably most of America. I think it's spread across the entire country by now, and maybe they're even popular where you're watching, but if they're not, well, you're gonna know all about them after watching this episode. Now, refried beans are simply cooked beans that have been mashed or pureed into a creamy consistency. They're kind of like hummus, where we use garbanzo beans for that, but for refried beans, traditionally you'll use something like these pinto beans. You might also use black beans or even a more specialized bean like mayakoba. Now, before the refrying part, well, you need to cook the beans, and I made a whole episode on how to cook beans from scratch, and you might remember from that, it is super easy. You can simmer them on a stove or just do what I do. You can cook them in an Instant Pot. It is a snap, and I will put a link to that video in the description below. Alternatively, you can buy cans of whole cooked beans that you can then turn into refried beans. Pinto or black beans are going to work best for this. It's really your choice. Now, once you have your prepared beans, either the ones you made from scratch or the ones in the can, well, then comes the refrying part. And I'm using those air quotes here because refrying in the refried beans is something of a misnomer. It makes you think that they are fried again when really we're not frying anything again. We're really just kind of frying them once. So traditionally, the way that you would make refried beans is you would take a skillet, you would heat some sort of fat in it, either a vegetable oil, bacon fat, or if you really want to get traditional, you would use manteca, also known as lard. You would saute some aromatics like onions and garlic, and then you would add the beans. From there, you would simply mash them, and well, it's really more sauteing than frying, but you would saute them in that oil along with those aromatics, and well, the result is absolutely delicious and filling. But making those refried beans the traditional way does take a bit of work, and you have to do multiple cooking methods. Well, twice if you are simmering the beans and then frying them, or at least once if you're just opening up a can of beans and then sauteing them in the pan. It's just, it's a little extra work and it takes time. But I have found a way that is far easier, and the results are just as good as, if not better, than the traditional way, and that's using one of these guys here, a food processor. Now, with this method, there is no frying at all, so that also means that you're gonna have less fat in these refried beans. Yes, now technically they are not fried at all, so we'll call them refried style, but trust me, I don't think you'll know the difference. They are just so delicious. Now, if you don't have a food processor, but you do have a blender, you can use that instead, although a food processor is far easier for this recipe. And here's my usual reminder that if you don't have a food processor, you don't need to go buy one new. Go to your local thrift shop. I'm sure they're going to have several. In fact, I bought this one recently at my thrift shop. It was just a few bucks, and this thing is an absolute tank. I love this thing. It's a Cuisinart. It weighs a ton, and well, it's just ferocious in its power, and I think it was less than $10. Okay, so let's make some food processor refried beans. I'm going to show you the way that I do it by making the beans from scratch, but if you just kind of want to experiment with this method, do it for the first time, just buy some cans of beans and you can see how the process works that way. See what I did there with process? I love making beans from scratch because I get to choose the exact ingredients I want, including the amount of salt and seasonings. I'm also a fan of using dried chili peppers. So after soaking the beans overnight and then draining them, I put the beans and chilies in an Instant Pot along with the seasonings like chili powder, and I let the thing go. When done, I drain the beans, but be sure to reserve the cooking liquid. You might want that, and I'll explain why in a moment. If you simply opt to buy canned beans, no judgment. Pop open the can and drain them, again reserving the liquid. Okay, so here we go. Now this first step is optional but recommended. I like to add some onions and the peppers to the food processor first and whiz them up. These are the peppers that I cooked with those beans in the Instant Pot. They're called guajillo peppers, and as you can see, they are nice and tender now. They were dry. I'm gonna put a couple in the food processor, and we're gonna whiz these up first, similar to what we would do if we were making refried beans, where we would cook up some aromatics first. Okay, we have our chili peppers and onions whizzed up, and like this alone makes it worth doing this recipe. This smells so good right now, just delicious. Now you do want to taste your beans that you've prepared beforehand to see if they need any extra seasoning. And these are really good, but I think they're gonna need a little more salt, so I'm gonna add that to the food processor. But all we do is we take our prepared beans, again, see, these are ones that I made in the Instant Pot, and we are just gonna load up the food processor. All food processors are a little bit different. You can, go up to about, let's say, halfway in yours, or maybe about 3/4 of the way full. Okay, my beans are loaded in. Again, I'm gonna add a little bit of salt here. You can also use, well, any seasonings that you want. You could add some more peppers, you could add chili powder. Again, I did that when I made these beans initially, so I know that otherwise they are okay. Now all we have to do is snap on our lid and process. We're just gonna pulse until you get the consistency that you like. Okay, let's check the consistency, and these look really good, but for me, I like a little more liquid, so again, that's why we save some of that liquid. So I'm just gonna take my spoon here and put in just a little bit. Again, you can use as much or as little as you want. We'll put this guy back on. Yeah, that's looking much better. I'm gonna scrape down the sides one more time, get all those yummy bits of onion and pepper. Give it a pulse. And there we go. We have food processor refried beans in, I don't know, under a minute. Let's give these guys a taste. I'm just going straight in here to see if they need any extra seasoning. These are so good. They are creamy, yet they have just a little bit of that chunkiness left. You've got a little bit of the brightness from those raw onions that we whizzed up in them, just a little bit of heat from those chilies. I mean, it's so much better than what you get out of a can. Now, yes, in case you are wondering, you can also do this with black beans, the exact same method if you prefer black to pinto beans. Refried black beans are delicious in their own right. And just like that, we have our beans ready to go here. These are best served hot, so you can heat these up. They also store well, and they even freeze well. Now, you can eat them plain, of course, or, well, the great thing about refried beans is you can eat them in almost any way and with almost any meal. Now, I like to simply garnish mine with maybe just some green onions, just like this. Here's some tomatoes. And this would make just a lovely side dish. But of course, you can take it to any extreme you want. For me, what I like to do is I love cheese with my refried beans, and I like to take it to the next level by broiling that cheese after putting it on the refried beans. So what I'll do is I'll put a bunch of cheese on these beans, and do you remember that infrared grill that I reviewed last week? Well, I simply take that plate and I run it under the grill for just a few seconds until the cheese is nice and bubbly. You can do the same thing under a broiler, and let me tell you, the results are absolutely amazing. Easily as good as or better than anything you would get in your favorite Mexican restaurant. So there you go, food processor refried beans. You never have to buy those refried beans in a can again with all those mystery ingredients. This way you know exactly what is going into your refried beans, and again, they're so easy to make. Make this recipe and let me know. Let me know what you think of it, and if you have your own secrets for the best refried beans, be sure to put that in the comments below. Okay, before we get to trivia time, a little bit of show and tell, and also my latest thrift store score. It is this vintage, made in Italy espresso maker. Now, I found this in the box not too long ago. I think they wanted like $15 for it, but upon closer inspection, I noticed the glass carafe that it came with was broken. So I was able to talk them down to just $5 for this thing, and lo and behold, well, it does work. And it works kind of like an electric version of a mocha pot that you might use on the stove. So here you fill the compartment with some water, you put the espresso grounds in the canister, you load it in, you flick the on switch, and then after about 5 to 10 minutes, it comes to a boil inside, and lo and behold, the coffee espresso pours out. And well, the coffee in truth isn't all that great. It's acceptable, but I just love the looks of this thing. It is so cool, and I thought for $5, well, that's the price of like a cup of coffee these days. It's worth it for the culinary art alone. Do you have one of these, or you have ever seen one? I think it's so cool, and well, I drank a whole pot of coffee before making this video, so it was worth the price of admission just there. Okay, trivia time. Speaking of coffee, last week I asked you what is the Swedish term for a coffee break, and several of you knew it. It is indeed fika. Yes, I became familiar with fika just a few weeks ago when I was on a trip to Sweden and I participated in fika. It was wonderful. And now I have a little fika every day of my own, enjoying some coffee, a nice little Swedish coffee break. Congratulations to everybody who knew the term fika. Okay, for this week's culinary tool trivia, this is something I picked up at my local British Indian store. What is this thing? If you know what this propeller-shaped rod device thing is, or you have a guess, put it in the comments below, and I will of course let you know the correct answer in the next episode. As always, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Until next time, I hope you want to cook.